Well, welcome everyone this evening to our Coach's Edge sneak peek / training. We are very excited to have you here this evening. We're doing something a little bit differently that we haven't done before, and we're actually even more excited than we have been in the past. Every time we do one of these, we want to make it even more high value for you and even more relevant to where you are. So we added in this, what we're calling a quick training for you this evening. So that's kind of how we're going to start our evening. So you can see it on the screen, and it's going to be our Stop You Selling Yourself quick training. And we're going to be jumping into that in just a few minutes. But as we get started, a big part of our Coach's Edge membership is this aspect of community and how we want to make sure that people are known and seen and a part of more than just being a number or just being a coach. You're part of a family, a Coach's Edge family. And so as we get started this evening, we want to take just a couple minutes and we will introduce ourselves, and then we'll take a couple minutes for each of you who wants to introduce yourselves as well. So just a quick couple housekeeping things as we get started. This, as you already know, you had to agree that this meeting is being recorded. This is so that way the people that aren't able to attend, they're sad, but they will get a copy of this recording as well, just to make sure that they have all the information they need to join Coach's Edge this fall. So first, I'll introduce myself. If I haven't met you already, and I know there's several of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Brittany Thiemann. I am the community manager for Coach's Edge, and I love being a part of your coaching journey, whatever that looks like, with a monthly call or just an email. I love being a part of your journey. And I have 2 toddlers that are literally in the next room, hopefully going to sleep. And my sweet husband just jumped off his meeting to take care of them. So we're tag teaming this evening. But I am so grateful to be here. I'm so glad that all of you are here as well. And I know all of you know Cheryl, but I would love for her to introduce herself as well.
Thank you, Brittany. Such a strong kickoff. My name is Cheryl Scanlon. I am a MCC coach with about 12,000 hours in front of clients now over the years. And I'm in a season where I want to give back to coaches who are in any stage of their journey. And that would include from the early stages of client acquisition, figuring out who I am as a coach, to really formulating your niche and getting a little bit clearer on your targeted market, to developing and forming those strong relationships that lead to longer term relationships, and then ultimately moving into some pretty sweet contracts that come later on in your seasons of coaching. And what we want to do in Coach's Edge is we want to give back those 12,000 hours to you. You know, when I started out as a coach, I had to hire a mentor coach who then became a business coach, and it cost me about $300 per session to work with her. And I was meeting with her twice a month. So that was $600 per month when I was only making maybe $15,000 or $20,000 a year tops. I mean, early on it was $5,000 a year. And so I wanted to try to take the value of what I received from my mentor coach and bring it into Coach's Edge to wrap it all up together for all of you. So it's literally becomes, as one of our members have said, a one-stop shop. You don't have to worry about what's going on at ICF. You don't have to worry about sharpening the edge of your skill. And you don't have to worry about the basics of business building. We take care of it all here. And it is a joy. As busy as my life is, with 40 clients and however many corporate accounts I have now, 8 or 9 corporate accounts, this is a highlight. And Brittany's the one that makes it happen. So thank you, Brittany.
Thank you so much. We are just excited to be here with you all this evening and to share a little bit more about this platform with you. First, we want to just tell you kind of what this evening is going to be about. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is just the experience and the taste of community, which is what we're about to do right now as we get to know you a little bit. And the next thing we want to talk about is this quick training that we're calling our Stop Selling Yourself, which is the 6 tips for increasing your prospect conversion rate. And then we're going to give you a big picture of Coach's Edge, the success path, our 3-fold approach, and just the basics of what it looks like, of how we're serving our coaches. And then finally, we're going to let you ask any and all questions that you have about the membership before we open doors for you. So now we're going to move into the very, very fun part. The next part is going to be, we're stepping into our new thing that we're doing for our webinars, our quick training. And so I'm about to turn it over to all of you know how brilliant and wonderful she is. I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl to talk through our quick training of Stop Selling Yourself. All you, Cheryl.
All right. Thank you so much. Brittany is going to post a link that you can actually download that she's created for you. So you can actually sit back and just kind of listen, and you can look at that resource. And so it's kind of going in at a different level. If you're doing a lot of this, you won't be able to enjoy what's happening here. So Brittany's going to bring up the PowerPoint as well. And the first thing we're going to do is talk about this concept of conversion. So what is a conversion? A conversion or a conversion rate. A conversion rate is what percentage of your initial conversations actually turn into clients. It's very simple. So if I meet with 5 people who have some interest in coaching, and I'm talking to them and learning about them, if 3 of them become coaches or become clients, that means 60% a conversion rate. So 3 out of 5 is 60%. One of the things that we look for is trying to build our conversion rate. So this quick training is all about increasing the conversion rate in your business, no matter where you are in your business. And I had 5 new clients or 5 potential people interview me for coaching over the past 6 weeks. 4 of them converted, 1 did not. And the one that did not convert because I got caught in selling myself. So this is so huge, and you never stop learning this, and you never stop needing to be aware of the importance of this. So the most important thing, we're going to talk about 6 different things. Here's the first one, the most important one, is to remember that you have to be the same person in your discovery call as you are in the session. If you're a different person in the discovery call than who they would be working with as a coach, then who are they hiring? Are they hiring the person that they met in the discovery call? But if that's not the person that they're going to work with and they say no to you, then what did they say no to? They said no to something that's really not the reality of what they would be getting if they were working with you. So the next 5 points are going to be about ensuring that you show up to that initial call with them. So when they make that evaluation, when they do make the decision, yes, coaching is for me, and yes, you are the right coach for me, they're making it based on accurate information. If we're in a sales mode pitching ourselves, they no longer have accurate information to work with. Does that make sense? So this is number 1. Any place in your initial call where you are not the same person as you would be as you're coaching, that's a place where you need to tweak your process a little bit. Let's go to number 2. A mistake that I've seen coaches make over and over again, especially in the early days, is they spend all this time reviewing the nuts and bolts of the contract. They talk a lot about their ethic alignment with ICF. And the potential client really doesn't care about all that. They really don't. We're trying to be conscientious. We're trying to make sure we've crossed every T and dotted every I. Meanwhile, the client never has an opportunity to really understand coaching and get to know you as the coach well enough to be able to assess whether or not this is something that they want to do. So I encourage you, do not go through your coaching agreement with a fine-tooth comb. The reality is this should only take 1 to 3 minutes of the call. We're going to be talking about confidentiality, accessibility, scheduling, rates, cancellation, and renewal. And honestly, you can do that at the beginning of the call, or you can do that at the end of the call, whatever you're more comfortable with. I actually prefer to do this at the end of the call, but no more than 1 to 3 minutes of the call. So those are the 6 things that you want. And here's what it might sound like. Tammy, I just want to let you know, I know that we both sit on the Raleigh Chamber board. And so we will be seeing each other in the hallways. We will be seeing each other at board chamber meetings. But when I see you, I will not be acknowledging you as a client. I will be acknowledging you as a fellow business associate on the board chamber, unless you're the one that shares with someone that you are a client of mine. In addition to that, if somebody comes up to me, let's say Daniela comes up to me and says, I know you're working with Tammy. She says that this has been a great experience for her. I would simply say, oh, I'm so glad we both know Tammy. And that's about all I would say. That would be about it. So do you have any questions on confidentiality? Similar with accessibility. How am I accessible? Is it best by email? Can they text you? Do you have office hours? Scheduling, how does scheduling work? Typically, my clients work with 3 30-minute 2 45 minutes, or 1 90-minute, and we get to decide together what is going to be best for them. And then my rates, I work on a retainer, and my retainer is X amount per month. And that what that you're doing is you're securing time with me. That's what you're doing. And of course, you can cancel anytime. We tend to schedule a quarter at a time. As a matter of fact, most of my clients are scheduling for the entire year now, but you're not obligated. If life changes and you need a change, or coaching is not working for you, we can literally cancel at any time. And that's all part of the agreement that you'll get in the mail or in the email. So very simple, 1 to 3 minutes. Any questions? We're done with that. Now, I do think that this probably is better off doing this at the end. Let them get to know you first. So let's flip that around a little bit from what your handout is. But let's go to number 3, because this is what's going to launch your conversation. You're going to launch your conversation with a question. And the question is, what is bringing you to consider coaching for yourself? You don't need to start it with any other question. By starting with that question, you are centering both of you to focus on that person and their relationship to coaching. So powerful. And without much more pomp and circumstance, they will quickly go into their story. It opens up the conversation very, very quickly. It warms them to you. It is an example of you managing the process from the very beginning, because what are we supposed to do? The coach manages the process, the client manages the objectives. So from the very beginning, as soon as we pick up the phone, Renee, this is Cheryl Scanlon. It's a pleasure to meet you today. So glad we're able to have this time. You know, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but we're going to begin with learning a little bit about you. So I guess my first question is, what is bringing you to consider coaching for yourself? So you see how I'm managing that process. There's no state of awkwardness at all. Quickly we're moving into that. So that's key and easy to implement. Let's go to point number 4. So point number 4, after the client has shared, and that sharing can be, and it may include a few questions. It's not like it's going to be this monotone, thing that they're monologue that they're saying. You may have a few questions that you're asking them. Oh, well, when did you discover that? Or, oh, well, that's very interesting. Or that's really good coaching material, or whatever it is. So after 7, 8, 9 minutes, you're going to ask them if you could quickly summarize what you've heard them say. And what you'll do is, in probably less than a minute, hopefully less than 30 seconds, you're going to summarize. So Rachel, I understand that the reason you're considering coaching is because you are a brand new coach, and you're recognizing that you need several things. You need to feel confident in your knowledge base. You need a community around you that's going to encourage you. And you want to have some sense of what would be my next step as I'm trying to do this. So am I hearing you correctly? And so then she say, wow, you're spot on. That's exactly what I'm looking for, right? Because she has told me all this, but what I'm telling her is, I heard you. I listened to you. I'm engaging with you. And as we do that, we begin to create and build that know, like, and trust portion of the relationship. No one is going to hire you. No one is going to hire you if they don't have a sense that you want to know them. No one's going to hire you if they don't like you. And no one's going to hire you if they don't have a sense that you're trustworthy. This is why I want you to stop selling yourself. That's not the way for us to do it. If we open with this step number 4, what's bringing you to consider coaching for yourself? It creates the opportunity. It holds an environment that allows for mutual know, like, and trust to develop between you and the prospective client very, very quickly. Does that make sense? Yeah. So let's go to point number 5. So point number 5 is equally important. This is your last stage of moving into this. So during this whole time where you're talking and you're asking them a few questions, and you're having this conversant kind of conversation, which is a precursor to coaching, because you are starting to get a sense of their agreement. Here are the 3 things you want to make sure you're doing during this time. The first is, you want to affirm, you want to acknowledge those places where they have self-awareness. So it might sound something like this. well, Mark, you're very aware of the fact that this portion of this challenge is a little scary for you. That's amazing that you have that self-awareness. That will help you in a coaching relationship, that you can articulate that, right? So I'm affirming the client in their place of vulnerability, in their place of self-awareness. They are being affirmed. I'm dressing them up. I'm not tearing them down. I'm not saying, oh, Mark, that's really bad. I can't believe you can't figure that out, right? No, because that's already going on in their head. That's already going on in their head. So you match their vulnerability with an acknowledgement of their self-awareness. You build them up in that place. That helps to expedite the trust between the two of you. The second thing you do, and you want to do all three of these things, so simple. The second thing you want to do is highlight and reflect back to them, just like I did with Rachel, what they want to work on. And as you do that, you can say, wow, Rachel, this is a very appropriate use of the Coach's Edge membership platform. This is the type of thing we do in Coach's Edge. I'm not telling Rachel to buy. I'm not telling her what she should think, but I am telling her that what she's wanting is actually appropriate for what we have to offer. So when I say to a client, wow, Rachel, that is really appropriate content for a coaching relationship. Because a lot of people haven't spent 3 years in coach training. A lot of people have not had a coach before. So they don't even know if what they're asking or thinking about would be appropriate for the platform. So it's important for you to affirm for them, if it is appropriate, that this is really good coaching material. This is not an unusual use of the tool. This is an appropriate forward-looking way of leveraging coaching on your behalf. And that will also help the client to feel a little bit more confident in their own seat as they make the decision. Okay, so number one, it's okay for me to be vulnerable, and it actually shows that I have self-awareness. Number two, what I'm bringing to the table and I think I want to work on, she's saying is actually good for coaching material. So now I don't feel like I'm wasting money. You see how we're handling these objections without ever even having to talk about them? Then the third is acknowledge and be honest with it. Acknowledge that this is the type of work you like to do with the client. And this is where I messed up. Remember, I told you of the 5, I wound up with 4. Here's what happened with the one that I didn't get. This particular potential client, it was recommended to him that he work with a coach. Now, I've been in this situation before. It's not quite a performance improvement plan that this man is on, but the board is nudging him to say, you need to hire a coach. So I got a little defensive in my posture because I don't want to be working with someone who really doesn't want to work with a coach and is just doing this because a board tell him to do it. So I said this one sentence. We were going really good in our conversation. I said this one sentence. I said, well, I want to let you know that I will challenge you. And there are going to be times when you're going to be a little uncomfortable in this relationship. Well, what do you think happened to the relationship? It went down the tube. And of course, he doesn't know me. So he didn't realize this was a little bit of my own defensive posture coming out. My way of challenging is in no way dressing down a person. It's always building them up. But I came across as somebody who I'm not. And as a result of that, he made a decision to not hire me based on false information that I gave to him. Isn't that interesting? I know, is that crazy, Renee? He made a decision about hiring me, not hiring me, based on false information that I gave to him. So letter C in this is make sure that you acknowledge that the type of work you would like to do that the client wants is the same kind of work that you like to do. And what that's doing is it's reinforcing and affirming a positive nature of the relationship that's developing. Because of course, believe it or not, your potential client is also concerned about potential rejection. So this now deals with the rejection piece. So now we've shared with them it's okay to be vulnerable. This is an objective place. It's judgment-free zone, letter A. Letter B, we've let them know that what they want to work on is an appropriate use of the tool, so it won't be a waste of their money without ever saying that. And then letter C is letting them know that this is the kind of work I like to do. I am not rejecting you. I think this is great. Fascinating, isn't it? So in your own way, in your own language, you want to make sure that that is brought into the conversation as long as they are true. And then number 6, we'll close our little short training with this. Focus on the contract logistics as stated above. And then the last 1 to 3 minutes, talk about those contract logistics, and then simply ask the client, how would you like to move forward with this? It's that simple. How would you like to move forward from here? They may say, I need more time. When do I sign up? What is my next step? I mean, you're going to hear it all, but most likely you are not going to hear objections because you have handled within step 5, the top 3 objections that you are going to typically experience from a potential client. Now, really exciting. There's a larger version of this in our on-demand library, which includes all sorts of goodies. This is a very condensed version. And in fact, because we've trained this so much, it's getting better, Brittany. I really like what you developed tonight on our behalf. But in addition to what we have here, we also talk about how to close with a client so that when you go to follow up with them, you've taken all the potential awkwardness out of it. Like, what do I do next? How long should it be before I follow up? How should I follow up? What do I say? We cover all of that. Okay, so hope you enjoyed that little brief training. Thank you, Brittany, for putting that together. We're going to talk a little bit now about the membership itself. So this is what we call our success path. We built the entire membership around what you are looking at on your screen right now. And what you see here is a classic Bell's curve. This is what makes up our community. So about 10 to 15% of our members are in the focus stage. This is where Rachel Johnson is. This is when we're in the early stages of moving out of being a student and learning what it means to be in business for ourselves. So about 10 to 15% of our members are there. Then about 20% of our members are starting to move into or already in the explore stage. So this is where more people are starting to work with you. You're starting to be able to use knowledge that you're learning in new and fresh ways. So you find yourself infusing your business with some new ideas with, the 1 to 3 clients that you might have at the time. Then you'll see about 50% of our memberships in the grow stage. This is where we're starting to feel a little bit more confident. We're starting to feel a little bit more confident, not a lot, but definitely more. And we are no longer even thinking about selling ourselves. We have enough confidence and competency that we don't fall into that trap as much. We're also tackling tougher client situations and business opportunities. When you move into this, and by the way, we have had clients who have moved through these stages, who have started in the early stages and now have moved all the way to sustain or thrive. And that is not attributed to Coach's Edge. We can't take credit for that. That is because they have been working hard in their businesses and they've leveraged Coach's Edge to help them, but we don't get credit for that. About 20% are in our sustain. This is where they're really looking at best business practices. They have enough repeatable processes that they can put standard operating procedures in place. They're working on client retention plans. It's just a whole new stage of the business. Typically, you're here when you get to about 20 clients, 20 plus clients. Grow is when you're about that 10 to 15 clients. And then when you're in Thrive, about 10% of our members actually have $350,000 to $500,000 practices. And we all learn and grow together. We're all doing this together. Nobody feels like they're less than or more than someone else because we're all learning. And these are the ones who are now at this place of, looking at the referral process and all that. No matter where you are in the success path, everyone benefits from everyone else. For those who are further along, it connects you to the baseline. And for those of you who are in the early stages, you have a picture of where your path is headed. So begin with the end in mind, as Franklin Covey has said, and then the groundwork that is required to get there. All right, this next slide is brand new that Brittany has put together. I love it. So our membership community is built on a threefold approach. The first is to take care of continuing ed hours for you to renew your credential. Now, a lot of you, this was actually not a big priority. So I don't know if you're not going to align with ICF. About, I would say 40% of our members, this is very, very substantial and significant to them. The second is, as we move down the ranks here, sharpening your skills. You know, one of the things that we see quite often in those early stages of coaching is client relationships only last 6 weeks, 3 months. And part of the reason is because they become too predictive. If a relationship is predictive for the client, they will stop working with you, not because they don't like you, but because you're not bringing any new value. So one of our key jobs at Coach's Edge is to continue to sharpen the edge of your coaching skills so that you continually have new things that you can try with the clients and keep sharpening that edge. And then finally, business development. With 3 extremely successful businesses, I'm able to bring all those hours and blood, sweat, and tears into the community, providing you bite-sized pieces for you to chomp on and get a good juicy steak out of it. Okay, I'm going to turn this back over to Brittany now. We are going to have time for Q&A. I know this is Niagara Falls right now. We're going to be pausing in just a few minutes, but before we do that, Brittany's going to jump in with a few of the member drive details and timeline. Brittany?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm excited to share some of that with you. I also wanted to see, as we talk about all the different dynamics of our membership, you could be thinking, is it for me? Do I fit? All of these 3 things that you're seeing, this threefold approach, is now the time to make the jump. And so maybe, Cheryl, maybe just take a second and talk about some of these things that we've laid out here. Is Coach's Edge a good fit for you? And how do you know that?
Love it. And maybe we could do the grocery store analogy too. That's
Yeah.
a really good one. Okay. So we've been running Coach's Edge now for 3 years, and we've learned a few things. The people who are successful in Coach's Edge, it has nothing to do with how many clients you have. We've learned this. We have people who have 0 clients who are very successful in Coach's Edge, and we have people with 5 or 6 clients who are not successful in Coach's Edge. And here are the 4 things. So we want you to disqualify yourself by these 4 things. If you feel called to be a coach, that's checking the first box. If you're prepared and ready to begin to learn how to think like a coach, check that box. If you're willing to try new things and take risks, check that box. And if you're prepared to look at failure as learning and growth, check that box. What we have learned is all 4 of these qualities have to be true of you as a potential member in order for you to experience the value from Coach's Edge. So this is a really good opportunity for those of you who are listening to the recording or in the webinar. You don't have to drop off if you don't want to, be rude, that's fine. But this is your opt-out moment. This is your moment to say, okay, I don't know that I really feel called to be a coach. I don't think I want to think like a coach. I want to continue to think like a student, and I just want you to tell me what to do. And, I don't want to take any risk. I want this to be really easy. And when I do fail, I have a really hard time with it. And I just want to go in a hole and curl up and die. So if those things are going to, and they're all true of all of us at times, right? But if those things are going to drive your mental stamina into the ground, you are not a good fit for Coach's Edge. So I think that's the opt-out. Now let's look at it from a positive standpoint. So I came up with this analogy last year, and Brittany loved it so much. She's asked me to just capture it fully here. So when you go to the grocery store, typically you have a list, or you at least have a meal or 2 in mind that you're going shopping for. Is that correct? Would you all say that that's pretty clear? Great. So when you go to the grocery store, you are very targeted in what you're looking for. And when you leave the grocery store, you have exactly what you need for that day or that couple days or that week. What we found happening with our members is because they weren't able to take advantage of we have over 100 on-demand recordings now. We have 33 hours of live events. So what was happening is they were going into the grocery store trying to fill 15 carts filled with every possible food item in the cart. And when they left, having missed one, they said, ooh, we're not really getting the value out of Coach's Edge. But I would put forth is the value of what you get at the grocery store because you can bring home everything at the same time and have all the food rot? Or is it that you can go to the grocery store and in a timely fashion get what you need at exactly that moment? And that's how we want you to look at Coach's Edge. And that's part of what Brittany does to serve our community. So Coach's Edge has a lot to offer. I mean, we literally have mastermind groups that are forming. We have client acquisition, speed dating calls that we do that are just crazy. We're always trying new things to help our membership, but you can't possibly consume all of it. And if you try, all it will do is discourage you. So you want to build a strategy for yourself. You want to put your menu together. Brittany will help you with that. And then you go after that menu and you don't let all the other shiny red tomatoes that are out there distract you, because they're going to sit on the windowsill and you'll never eat them. So there you go. So that's our little analogy about what's packed in Coach's Edge on your behalf. The value comes not from the variety and the quantity. The value comes from the fact you can get exactly what you need when you need it.
The tomato part is new. I like the new tomato addition. Every time you spruce it up just a little bit. But that's one of my favorite parts of my role, is helping people navigate what parts of the platform are going to be most helpful for them. I have probably a handful of members who reach out probably every other month, and they say, all right, this is the amount of hours I have this month, and here's what I'm focusing on in my business. What events should I come to live? What recording should I listen to in the on-demand library? And so I basically just put really quickly, not a schedule, but almost like a short course together for them of, here are 3 recordings, and this event this month is going to be spot on for what you're looking for. Let's make those work for you. And then they go off and running, and and then we wait another couple months and we'll go through it again. So that is one of my favorite parts, is partnering with our members to make sure that the content isn't overwhelming, but the content works for you. So if you let me help you with that, I am more than happy. So let's talk about the logistics, the nitty gritty of fall membership. So as we jump into the fall, you're probably wondering, what are you going to get as soon as you get in? So we like to do what we call a new member orientation. This is just an opportunity for any new member to come in and get a download of, let's learn the platform together. Let's talk about what the priorities are for you in the membership, get to know all the new members, get to know us a little bit better, and kind of get a lay of the land. This is a really pivotal time that we want all new members to try to come to. We have tons of resources that can help you learn the platform if that's not going to work for your schedule. But ideally, you come, we get to meet you and get to know you a little bit more and what you're looking for, as well as you get to meet all the other new members as well. We have a couple events in the month of September. We had an advanced scale mastery, and the topic for that is, what do you do when there's a breakdown in trust with your clients? So that will be on September 14th, right before doors close. And then the last event of the month, we have a roundtable, and this is going to be a continuation of a roundtable we had a couple months ago that blew everybody's minds, so much so that we had to do it again. Cheryl came up with this big, beautiful presentation called Speaking Powerfully and Memorably in 30 Seconds, 3 Minutes, and 30 Minutes. And everyone is very, very excited for that. So that's kind of what we have looking forward to the fall. Now let's talk about membership levels as we open the doors. So adventurer and explorer, those words probably don't mean anything to you yet, but hopefully they will in just a second. So we have 2 membership levels. Explorer, which is our live events only. So very basic membership level of, you come to the live 2 to 3 events each month, as well as access to our private Facebook group. We actually added that in last year because we wanted everyone to feel like they're a part of the community, not just because you're an adventurer. Adventurer level is 2 payment options, $117 per month for 12 months or $11.97 for the full year. And you have access to everything. So that's the live events, the on-demand library, which now has over 130 hours worth of self-study. We have a mentor coach practicum that we do twice a year that you get a $250 discount for. It's really full access to everything in that adventurer level. When you're weighing the 2, I like to tell people, if you're not sure that your schedule will work with the live events each month, you want to lean towards the adventure, because you don't want to be spending money to not be able to come to any events if your membership is just live events. The adventure, everything is recorded, so if you happen to miss one, you can catch them in the library. We actually have members who can't ever attend any live events, and they just hone in on the on-demand library. So really, it's a flexible membership that can work with whatever you need it to be. I also wanted to share quick testimonials from our members. We have our lovely Cindy. We love her so much. And actually somebody here might know her as a referral, but she's been with us since the very beginning. And she just sent this to me end of last week because she's just so over the moon with Coach's Edge and how much value it provides for her. The CCEs, the skill development and refining, the industry updates and the business development process practices, and the cherry on top is being in a safe and supportive community. We love hearing things like this from our members and would love to hear stories like this from you and as you become a member. So now let's take a second and you can stop hearing me talk for a second and I want to hear your questions. So feel free to unmute or send a note in the chat and we can answer some questions that you might have.
How many people are in the program?
Good question. Right now we have about 80 members in the platform. But I liked when I tell people that, I get a lot of wide eyes because they think that they're not going to have as good of quality in the events if there's 80 people in there. I'd say we probably have about 20 to 30 average per event. So it is still very that tight knit feel when you're in the event, but while still having this large member directory and Facebook group to ask questions, since everyone is all over the spectrum in niche and in experience. And yes, I can send you any information or questions and answer anything else afterwards as well, because I'm sure that as soon as we get off, a question will pop into your mind. And I will make sure that you get that answer before we get you into Coach's Edge this fall. Any other questions before we jump to the end of our time? Can't believe it's already almost been an hour.
I have a question. So I've been coaching for a couple of years, but I've not gotten my credential yet. Would this still work well for me?
Yeah, we have coaches in there who are not credentialed and don't plan to be credentialed. So, I mean, even in this room, the CCE portion, when we looked at the survey, was a lower portion of it, although for those who it's important to, it's really important. So I wouldn't be concerned, you know, there's so many new certifications coming up. And what we do in Coach's Edge is we actually call ourselves off-roaders. So what we're trying to do is get those who are in sort of the stringent place with ICF and checking boxes and doing rule following, try to help us to move out of that and to recognize just how flexible the tool of coaching is while still honoring those key markers with ICF. So I don't know that you'll feel the effects of that if you don't plan on ICF alignment.
Yeah, so I'm also interested in having mentoring hours for going to PCC level. So this is another program. I'm not sure if I understood well.
Yeah, so what we do is before Coach's Edge existed, I was delivering what we call mentor coach practicums. They're practicums. And the reason why I started delivering them, again, it was to try to save coaches money. So you can do 7 hours of mentor coaching for $1,000. That's great, considering I was paying $300 for 1 hour, right? And so we run those practicums. We really should have run a third one this year. I mean, we could have filled it so fast, but we couldn't do it. So we will try to run 3 practicums next year. It's just based on my calendar. As a Coach's Edge member at the adventure level, which is the higher level, you receive $250 off of that. So you get 7 hours of group mentor coaching for basically $105 per hour. It's a crazy deal. So very, very valuable. And everything we do in the practicum, whether you're coming in, working towards your ACC or you're working towards your PCC, everything is coaching you and preparing you towards your PCC. And just to give you an idea on that, I developed a coach training program in conjunction with actually another Coach's Edge member who is a business partner of mine for Franklin Covey. And they are now at a point, we were the first people ever hired by Franklin Covey from the outside to do inside training for them. And as part of that, the person who is our client has said they're having a more challenging time trying to find coaches now because they've been so spoiled by the output that has come from that training. And so I want you to know that, and Georgia Schaefer has said this too, I didn't know this about myself. Sometimes you need other people to call it out in you. I mean, I've been a coach my whole life. I coach color guard, you know, all this, but I didn't realize this was really a gift that God gave me. And it's great to be able to give it to you. I didn't know. So we really want we want our coaches to be the best coaches that they're supposed to be, not the best coaches like Cheryl or like, you know, Renee or anyone. We want you to be who you're supposed to be as a coach. Very passionate about it. Obviously, we pour a lot into this. You won't believe it when you see the platform. I mean, it is unlike anything. There is nothing out there in the market like this. I can assure you of that. And every single year, Brittany makes it better. Matter of fact, the whole thing is going to get overhauled again. We're already looking at a massive overhaul for next year. She
In a good way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in a good way. Just keep refining it. The overhaul that we're looking at next year, I'll share it with you, and it's probably going to take us 2 years to do it. But it's so ironic. Both Brittany and I are not auditory learners. I am a reader. But what happens is once it goes into the on-demand library, we do have a handout, which is very helpful, but it's all auditory learning. So we're slowly converting everything into transcripts. And then eventually we're going to convert those to PowerPoints. So it'll be really a nice extra visual, but that's going to take time when you've got 130 on-demand, you know, pieces. But that's one of the things we're working on. We'll be building that as we go forward, but we got to go back and you know, redo all that other stuff. So that's going to take time. And anyone who's a part of Coach's Edge will get to experience the more of it. But here's the business lesson in this. And this is for all of you. If you wait till you have all your ducks in a row to launch your business, you will never launch your business. If you could see Coach's Edge when we first started it versus what it is now, you wouldn't even recognize it. Yeah, I mean, you would not even recognize it. But we're not embarrassed or ashamed of our early beginnings. We continue to build on that. And so it's going to be the same with your business. You take your next step and your next step and your next step, and you may not even recognize your business in 2 years, but that's the way it works. We like to call building the plane while we're flying and hope that we don't crash.
Any other questions? These are all good questions.
I have one. We have 3 gentlemen on the line. And so our ratio is about 40% men, 60% women. And in our events, we have typically about 25 to 30% men who are attending the events and about 65% women who attend the events. So sometimes that's an interesting question people have. It's a very good mix. And it's nice to have that male voice countering the female voice, because the questions that they ask are typically very different than what the women are asking. It's really helpful to have both of those voices. So I wanted to share that with you. And then another question we often get, which I'll share, you know, I am a business and executive coach. My start was in life coaching, as a matter of fact. So I was referred to a nonprofit to do work with them from a guy. And he said, no, I don't want you working with Cheryl. She's a church lady. Because I used to run a women's ministry at my church. So he's like, you're not working with a church lady. I want you to work with an executive coach. But that was where my start was. So now my whole brand had to shift to this executive coaching. Well, not only is he working with me now, but now he's referring a ton of business and all this other stuff. But he still pokes fun at me. So, you know, I was the church lady. So again, we have people who are life coaches in there. We have people who are health coaches. We have people who are working as internal coaches, meaning they're part of an organization and the clients are coming to them. We have external coaches. We have coaches who are more consulting like. We have coaches that are much more of the life coaching, process type coaching, spiritual direction and development. I mean, it is the whole, and we have business coaching and executive coaching. We've got the whole gamut in there. So it's really fun, really fun.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Boy, that is the truth. And I will tell you, I learn something from the members every time we're together. I actually take notes for myself and am implementing ideas in my next session. So it's super rewarding. Super rewarding. All right, Britt, where are we at?
Well, we are coming to a close, and as I mentioned, the doors are open the morning of September 1st. The doors will close on the 15th, and we will not open again until March of 2022. But we're so glad that you were here this evening. This was fun for us, and we were both beaming over here, just getting to spend time with you all. If you have questions after, again, I'm sure some questions will come into your mind as soon as you jump off. Please send me an email. I will send an email right after we get off here. And you can register whenever you're ready. Again, questions, you can call me, schedule a call with me, or shoot me an email, and I'm happy to walk with you through the process to get you registered. Yay, wonderful. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye-bye.